Hi, Margot.
Deanna, how are you?
I'm good, and I'm so glad to be here for another episode of Mom to Mom, where one mom is sort of confused and needs help, and thankfully, the other mom is a licensed clinical psychologist.
I'm glad I get to be that one. That's the one
Me
right
too. Me
today. I'll be that
too.
one. Yeah.
So today I wanted to ask you. I've been part of a Facebook group of parents of teens, particularly during lockdown. And one of the questions that came up is how can they help their teen be more motivated to do their schoolwork and just to do all the things they need to do while we're stuck at home.
I've read a lot on this subject actually because lots of parents are asking about it. I've had lots of conversations with lots of parents about this, friends, clients, everybody's trying to figure out what do we do with and for these kids. So I'm glad you asked that question, and I've missed our mom to mom time together because moms need moms. We need brains need brains, mom needs mom.
We
So
do. We need to stick together on all this
we
for
need to study
sure.
about it. That's right. So trying to get teens motivated when you're working, when they need to be doing whatever they need to be doing. I had both of my kids in a summer school class, and I'd go downstairs because I'm working and upstairs, and they'd be fiddling around doing something else. And, so it certainly depends on your situation. It depends on your kid. But I would say overall, there are a couple of things I would keep in mind. One is our expectations for ourselves and for our kids right now really have to change. Because I don't know about you, but I have had to adjust myself how I think about my kids, what they're capable of, what I can reasonably expect in a time like this. For school, even with really good students, let's start there with a really good student, they are sort of putting their information, their schoolwork into a black hole, is what it feels like. Those are the exact
Mhm.
words I've heard from teenagers. Everything goes into this black hole. So what happens? You do your assignment, you put a lot of effort to it, and you send it off. And there's no feedback. It takes forever. There's not that more real time understanding of do they understand the
Mhm.
material? So they lose interest really quickly. A teenager's brain is really going to be motivated by what they find interesting. And they're going to struggle. This is true for adults. I mean, think about the last time you had to clean the bathroom, let's say, versus go sit on a patio with a friend, right? We are like running to
I
get to the
like the other one's
patio.
more fun.
The other one's
For
more
sure.
fun, right? So if I'm
Yeah.
interested in something, I'm going to be more motivated, which leads me to the next point.
Mhm.
Help your teens really identify, like they're not probably going to be able to get everything done or be motivated to get everything done. Help them narrow down what are they really interested in? What do they really enjoy in school? Or what do they hate the least, which is what I'm
Mhm.
doing with one of my sons. I know you don't like
So
this
do you
class.
get him to start? Do you think it makes sense to start with the things they like best?
Well, I sandwich it.
Mhm.
So to get them motivated, we start with what they like best. Then we sandwich in a couple of things they don't like, and then we end with something else that they like
Mhm.
better. Now, don't get me
And then
wrong.
how often are you checking in with them? So are you checking in at the beginning of an assignment, asking them to come back when they're done?
Well, my kids are 14 and 16 now, so that
Mhm.
they don't need quite that level of supervision
Mhm.
most of the time. But there have been days when I've done that where I've needed to, between appointments, zip downstairs and just sort of do a quick spot check, make sure everybody's doing
Mhm.
what they need to be doing. If they're not, I'll corral them back up again. And here, again, we're fortunate enough that we have a separate Wi-Fi for me to work off of. Not everybody can do
Oh,
this.
nice. Sure.
But if they're not doing what they need to be doing, off goes the Wi-Fi because they're usually
Mhm.
doing something that requires a Wi-Fi through their phone, or I turn off their data or whatever and say, I'm
Mhm.
very calm about it. I do not get in scuffles with them. Just
Mhm.
say, when you're ready, you let me know.
Mhm.
I'll turn it back on. And from my phone, I can reactivate it.
And did you let them know ahead of time? Like, did you set that as a consequence so
Yep.
they knew that was going to happen?
They knew it. I'm really transparent with my kids. I'll say to them, this is the expectation. If you do it, this is what happens. If you don't, this is what happens. And I have to do that on occasion but I always set it up that way. And I don't have to say it every day because I'm consistent and I follow through with it, which is so hard when you're trying to work and you're trying to get other things done, or you're trying to run to the bathroom really quickly to stop and check on your kids. And here is what I would say to people. This is what I've been telling folks. Don't worry about it as much. And I know it feels completely the opposite of what we're used to. You do what you can when you can. Otherwise, you're going to activate a huge stress response in yourself. And what happens to kids is once you're activated, they get activated. And then that's when bickering and arguing and fighting and pushback, and you're not going to tell me what to do. So the more you can step back and not argue, the better. So I would motivate them in that way.
Along the lines of expectation, because the question was, how do you motivate your teens? And sometimes I think, is it always motivation that matters? If they have to finish a math assignment and they hate it and complain the entire time, does that matter if they still get the math assignment done?
You know, motivation is an interesting word. Motivation is, how do I get them to have some forward movement is what I'm thinking of. That's all.
Well, I think it's forward movement, but I think when parents use motivation, at least in our house, it means I wish that they would come up with the idea on their own. Like, I wish I didn't have to tell my child to do their homework when they know they have to do it. I wish they had motivation to do it on their own. That's how I think it is.
Okay. And, you know, not to quibble about semantics, but I'm going to quibble about semantics. You know, at least I'm clear about it. I'm honest about it. So I would say that's initiative. And you really can't expect a whole lot of initiative right now.
Okay.
Even some of the best of students have no initiative right now. And their parents are thinking, when they were live in school, I wasn't around with them. I didn't have to keep
and they were doing it.
And now all of a sudden I have to watch their every move. Well, but because their initiative, they're not having the same cues that they used to have that would say, oh, it's time to get up. It's time to go to school. I'm in class. Everybody's watching me. My peers are watching me. The teacher's watching me. It's like, nobody's watching. You know?
So then what's motivation?
So motivation is, it is my sense from either an internal or an external source that I need to move forward with something. That's how I define motivation. I can motivate my sons when they have no initiative.
Okay.
And the motivation is, there's no screen time later today. Your call. So then they're very motivated, but it comes from me. They have, right now, my kids really have very little initiative around school. Very little. And that's very common right now. So let's not confuse initiative with motivation. You might have to motivate them somehow, which is an extra burden that you never had to do before. Or maybe you did, but now you're having to motivate them differently. So hopefully that clarifies.
Oh, that was actually really, that was very clear and good. And one thing along those lines, just to tie into this idea of that maybe they had initiative or they had motivation before, but now it's different. My understanding from some of our earlier mom to moms is this idea that teens are pushing you away at this time frame, but that they actually need structure and they need they need that common basis to know that they're safe. And so all of that is just completely up in the air now. And I wonder if there's just some internal, like, low level anxiety that's going on in kids and probably parents too. Do you think that's, I guess, how do you think that plays into everything?
Yeah, it's huge. Nobody knows what they're doing right now, which is a horrible way to feel in the world. We have known since we're little kids how to go to school. We've known in adults how to parent perhaps, or go to work, or we've kind of known what the world is going to look like. We kind of knew what was going to happen next. So all of a sudden to have nothing be predictable is very anxiety provoking.
Yeah,
the brain prefers, right? Yeah. You're sure. Me too. You know, I feel it myself at times. Less so now because we're into this for almost 6 months. We're into our 6 months. The first few months, I was like, what is this thing? I'm working from home? Really? I mean, just everything. My kids are home all the time. It was, and lovely. I mean, I love having them around, but you know, it's so different. So yes, I would say anxiety.
Luckily, this isn't on video where your kids can see that.
We don't need to go there. Yeah, but I do love having them around. So I think I am in the majority. You know, everybody's
Right.
saying,
For the record, we both love our children. Continue.
yeah, bottom of my heart, a little bit of space. But yes, the anxiety is normal and some depression because of the development of neural hormones, not just reproductive hormones. We've given way too much credit to reproductive hormones. There's a lot of serotonin, which is a salience or feel good chemical, a good mood chemical. And again, I don't mean like woohoo. I mean like you just feel okay. It should be called a feel okay chemical. How's that?
Mhm.
And that's really being produced in varying amounts in a teenager's brain throughout a day, throughout a week, throughout the month. So their moods, that's part of the reason their moods are going up and down. They're used to getting now a little dump, for the first time ever, a dump of dopamine, which is a salience feel good chemical, right? So they're already in that kind of soup in their head. And then you throw in something that is so unknown, right? So they don't know if they're going to be going back to school or are they not going back to school. Will they see their friends? Will they not see their friends? Will their grandparents get sick and die or not? So anxiety and depression, we have been getting so many calls. I've actually had to hire more people to help with the need for couples because this is hard on families, it's hard on parents, and for kids and teenagers because this is really hard on everybody. Understandably, back to motivation in school. So you're just adding that into the mix. So now they're distracted by all of these other questions and thoughts that they didn't have to worry about before, in addition to the expectation to do school in a way that they have no idea how to do. And quite frankly, with all due respect to the teachers, they're new at this too. They're not really sure yet, from what I understand, about what they're doing. So yes, everybody's anxious. So therefore, performance is going to be harder. Conflict is going to be more likely. Moods are going to be lower.
And it sounds like just, to kind of sum up this conversation about motivation, I think the motivation versus initiative was a big deal. And sometimes, sometimes we have to say, well, you have to be the mom, you have to be the parent. And if the motivation needs to be that external thing, maybe sit down and design it with your child, but something new. And just something new that works, just understanding that these are extraordinary times.
Right. And depending on your child, maybe you can design it with them. My kids, sometimes I can do that. Often I just am quick and to the point and I'll say, hey guys, this is sort of the plan right now. You need to sit down between 8 and noon, take a couple of breaks in there, come stick your head in the room or knock on the door, send me a quick text, let me know if you're taking a break. But then I want you back down there again. If not, the Wi-Fi goes off, just FYI. And I'm off.
And
So
that's it. They're done.
right, that's it. It's not a big thing. Other children do better. Other teenagers do better if they're involved in the process. So you really have to sort of know your child, but don't expect that you have to sit down with them and you have to include them. I just don't think that's always necessary. Some kids just need to know what's expected right now.
Okay. Well, especially at school, you have to do it. So you can't really negotiate what it is that you're doing. I mean, you have to do it.
Exactly. There's no negotiation. It's not like, well, it's school. I don't have a Zoom class until 11. So how about I get up at 10:55? No, I mean, I still want you staying on the same schedule because, if we go back at some point, you're going to be all messed up. That's not going to work. So let's just stick to the schedule. That's good for my kids. It might not be for yours.
Well, you know what? On that note, we'll invite people to reach out, leave something in the comments when we post this on both Facebook and YouTube. Leave a comment, and Margaret, you'll be happy to respond or give thoughts on that. And this was great. So hopefully it was helpful. If anyone listening now has other questions, please feel free to fill them, and we'd love to cover them in a future Mom to Mom. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.